In this video, I'll let you witness a jaw-dropping, extraordinary, and breathtaking ride as we explore the luxurious life inside Jeff Bezos' $175 million home. As of now, who doesn't have any idea who Jeff Bezos is? The former wealthiest individual on the planet, pioneer and former CEO of Amazon, and Mackenzie Scott's ex-spouse. Get the job done, say. Bezos need not bother with a lot of an introduction nowadays. What you probably won't have known, however, will not precisely shock you, is that the man worth $168 billion has numerous properties all over the United States. He has an $80 million penthouse in New York, a $23 million chateau in Washington, D.C., and he even claims a 165,000 section of a land farm in Texas. All that Amazon fund was heading off to someplace, all things considered. This time, however, we'll be taking a visit through Bezos' $175 million Beverly Hills assets. Why do you question? I mean, simply take a gander at the spot. It's beautiful and I have close to zero familiarity with you. Yet I might want to find out about the house my urgent Amazon shopping helped finance. Bezos' ninth section of land palatial bequest, in all honesty, didn't simply bring forth out of the blue. This house is, truth be told, east of Hollywood history, making it very extravagant for a house that is just about 100 years of age. It was worked in 1930 for the Warner siblings' fellow benefactor Jack Warner, and in those days, this spot was a party problem area facilitating VIPs and Hollywood heavyweights. Trust me, Bezos doesn't party as he moves during the day. In those days, this spot was in a real sense known as the Party Royal Residence. It has facilitated well-off and celebrities like Jimmy Stewart, Audrey Hepburn, Howard Hughes, and even Albert Einstein were welcome to the manor. I'll work and not play, isn't that so? Jeff Bezos bought the spot back in February 2020 from another extremely rich person, David Geffen, for $165 million. Geffen himself had gotten the property harking back to the 90s and had purportedly burned through $45 million revamping the spot. $20 million of that was spent on finishing alone. It's a genuine stunner. Geffen decided to sell the spot. On the off chance that I drop the sort of cash remodeling a spot, you best accept I'm getting covered there. 3 years after Bezos bought it, the spot is as of now the worth $10 million more. Any thoughts on how and why that occurred? Kindly let me in on the remarks and stick around because we may very well see whether I ought to leave my fantasies about claiming the spot when Bezos is finished with its extrinsic. So what about a visit through this great bequest? Tell me, what might you think about the most attractive piece of this ninth section of the land domain? The delightful foliage? The decent wellspring set in the compound? Or on the other hand, perhaps quite possibly, the 13,000 square foot immense chateau truly integrates this spot. Gracious, this chateau isn't simply huge, and I don't express this about blocks of cement and paint frequently. Yet this building is damn attractive as well, particularly those pleasant thick points of support out from the engineer's decision to embrace a Georgian-style configuration truly gives this home a decent lofty feel. Taking a gander at it from the front, you'd nearly think you are viewing the White House concerning the other somewhat less attractive, however similarly as astounding pieces of this compound simply crashing into this home makes them go down a wonderful sycamore fixed carport with delicious vegetation outwardly and delectable plant life within. No joke, the astounding feel of this spot is so strong, it makes the whole area more gorgeous. On the off chance that I haven't previously made it bountiful understood, this compound is gigantic. There's a lot of room for stopping, yet engineers volunteer to fit however much they could in here, and indeed, it's covered with a sort of yard you'd have to enlist an entire multitude of groundkeepers for conveniences. Other than the decent pleasant wellspring I referenced before, you can find 2 lakes, and not 1, not 2, however 3 glass houses here. You can't perceive that somebody has that numerous glass houses on their property and they're not a super reprobate. I've seen a very sizable amount of films. Fortunately, Bezos' glass houses are by all accounts loaded up with costly blossoms and outlandish plants until further notice. There's likewise a monstrous outside pool. In all honesty, if there wasn't one, I'd be extremely frustrated at Bezos for purchasing the site. Pools are comparably standard as door handles in these super houses. At the point when Bezos is hoping to beat the intensity, he can simply take a pleasant loosen and a plunge in the pool. And while he's hoping to beat the chili, then at that point, he takes a dunk in the hot tub, all strategically located behind one of the visitor houses. Believe it or not, I neglected to mention that these area likewise accompanies two visitor houses, the house for a monstrous end of the week-long gatherings. This house was a party royal residence after all. A few students of history even accept that Marilyn Monroe remained in one of the visitor houses some time ago. A bar and a pool won't generally be sufficient to engage your visitors. However, at times you need to burn some calories and crush your visitors at a game fitting your personal preference. You can relax. This home takes care of you. There's a grass tennis court on this property and a whole 9 opening green too. How they squeeze all of this into one property regardless of having sufficient room for an engine rope too. I am clueless. Compositional enchantment, or on the other hand, is 9 sections of land just way greater than I suspected. Coincidentally, even the engine court couldn't simply agree to be a normal carport. It can hold more than 6 vehicles, meaning Bezos can fit all his special extravagance cars in here, like his Bugatti Veyron, his Cadillac Escalade, and his exemplary 1997 Honda Accord, and it accompanies a help carport and service station. What a home inside! Past that delightful yard, however, is within the enormous highlight of this domain, the house that may very well get me prosecuted for imitating Jeff Bezos, even though it might be somewhat challenging to get down the snigger of his. As I mentioned before, this huge house covers around 13,000 square feet of living space. It highlights 8 rooms, 9 restrooms, a lounge area sufficiently huge to fit 14 individuals, and an enormous chimney. Without a doubt, this house probably won't be the biggest home Bezos claims, yet what it needs is the size it compensates for in polish, and indeed the exquisite Georgian engineering is within too. No concerns there. I mean, simply strolling inside this home will get you insulted with its highness. The primary thing you'll look at voluntarily is an enormous 2-story entrance corridor, a cantilevered flight of stairs that prompts the upper piece of the house, and a delightful cut-glass light fixture that truly ties the top-of-the-line wood flooring together. At the point when you're not respecting the tasteful excellence of this manor, there are a lot of activities and conveniences spread around the spot. You don't drop $165 million on a chateau that can keep you somewhat engaged presently, do you? The chateau accompanies a far-reaching, very much loaded bar, and it can read your mind. That is all you want, correct? Indeed, the planner suspected something. The chateau likewise accompanies a screening room, a library, and a sun space when you're all set to full penny pincher and progress into a legitimate withdrawn very rich person no one sees during the daytime. Bezos likes it enormously. If you weren't able to tell from the size of this spot and the sheer measure of stuff that fits into it, obviously Bezos likes it huge, and by it I'm discussing his properties. You could say he has enthusiasm for getting enormous things and making them significantly bigger, and very much like the man himself says, you truly do have to follow your interests. What will be that? The sound of you contradicting me. Indeed, get this. In addition to the fact that Bezos owns a 165,000 section of the land farm, a piece of property so gigantic it serves as a day camp for his family, and a send-off site for a blue beginning. Bezos is a rocket space flight organization. There was a time he transformed a 100-year-old material factory into a $23 million home, which obviously incorporated the first home and the structure close to it, joining the two of them to make an enormous 34,000 square foot home. He spent around $12 million and 3 years redesigning the entire spot to accomplish his ideal enormous house, and afterward immediately celebrated in it. Concerning his New York penthouse, he did essentially the same thing when he bought the spot. He felt free to buy 2 additional floors so he could transform it into an $80 million 3-level penthouse covering 16,000 square feet, and obviously, he felt free to do the same thing to his Beverly Hills home. He bought the adjoining property close to his $165 million home for the much lower cost of $10 million. Presently, it probably won't be essentially as enormous as the fundamental home, yet even this spot is a touch of Hollywood history. Truly, I can't make 2 strides without stumbling over Hollywood history in Beverly Hills to tell you. The more modest bequest is on the Tropical Road and was worked during the 1930s also. It accompanies a home that highlights 3 rooms, 5 washrooms, and 6 chimneys, which may very well be the most unusual proportion I've known about. The home, similar to its bigger neighbor, likewise has a decent yard, rose grounds, a vegetable nursery, and all things considered, wonderful grass, yet no nursery, which could make sense why Bezos didn't buy this area first. On the off chance that you actually figure Bezos could do without it huge, we should not fail to remember this is the very man that claims a $500 million, 417-foot-long monster of a yacht nicknamed Project Y721. A yacht so gigantic, it involves one more modest yacht as a help vessel. No doubt I figure I may be onto something when I say he favors his living space to be somewhat better than expected in size. This here is the home of the previous most extravagant individual on the planet, so what portion of it was your pick? Assuming that you made it this far, you obviously love this video. How about you click on one of the recordings on the screen at present?